The series, Tips and Strategies. Presentation 5. Addressing different levels of skill. This presentation really deals with differentiating instruction in SMILES. The topics to be discussed are titled 1. Zoom in and zoom out. 2. Simplify and complicate. 3. Repeat and challenge. 4. Groups, pairs, and individuals. And last, have something for everyone. Point 1. Zoom in and zoom out. Zooming in implies focusing on the most pertinent learning objective and presenting it magnified for the young learner. Zooming out implies presenting a more complex and more detailed picture that covers more than one learning objective. For example, the letter B. What sound does this letter make? The sentence, "A big bug was on the bed." The instructions would be to underline all the words that begin with the pink B sound. These two activities differ in the degree to which they focus on a learning objective. All students starting a new lesson begin the lesson at zoomed in. They are still new, developing their skills. But as they acquire more knowledge and more skills, the focus of learning is widened, zoomed out. This zooming out occurs to a different extent and at a different pace for each student. Emerging students must focus on a single learning objective. They work better with materials and objects on the larger scale, such as sound cards or even posters and finger painting. Mastery level students are engaged with more complexity in greater detail. They can handle letters presented in smaller size and activities that require fine motor skills. This is an example of zoom in and zoom out for reading. Initially, say the sound made by the letter. The following skill would be to identify the letter that makes a sound from a group of flashcards. Increasing in complexity would be to identify the letter that makes a sound in a given word. And finally, reading a word. In these 4 steps, there is a degree of gradual zooming out. There is a degree of adding complexity and detail to the required activity. Writing skills can also be differentiated based on complexity, starting from left to right, from less complex to more complex. Forming a letter using finger painting is an example of being zoomed in and dealing with learning material at a large scale. As students develop their writing skills, they can deal with activities that require greater detail, such as tracing the letter on a page, followed by tracing a word, and finally, writing the word. Zoom in and zoom out for written comprehension. Students that are emerging would be typically required to answer by illustration. As they develop their comprehension skills, they can now answer using a word, followed by a phrase, and those who have reached proficiency can answer in a complete sentence. So the expectations in a classroom would be for developing students to answer using a word, while proficient students to answer using a complete sentence. Point 2, simplify and complicate. Many activities in the books are designed to address multiple learning objectives. When differentiating instruction, these activities can either be simplified to focus on the activity's primary learning objective, or they may be further enriched to develop skills beyond those intended by the activity. Written comprehension questions are designed to address comprehension as a primary learning objective. But these questions also address vocabulary, grammar, spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and even penmanship. So here's an example of simplification and comprehension. The sentence from the story is, "A bell went ring, ring." The question is, what went ring, ring? The primary objective is to demonstrate understanding of the sentence, whether using a single word, a phrase, or a complete sentence. The simplified version, used for developing or emerging students, would be to accept the simple phrase, "a bell," as an answer. One approach would be to encourage the student to answer using a complete oral sentence. A bell went ring, ring. That sentence would be given to the student, and the student would be allowed to copy the answer. Differentiating instruction also needs to take into account proficient and mastery level students. Take, for example, the letter jumble activity. This activity requires students to arrange letters presented on the page in a bubble to spell words next to their pictures. For enrichment and to challenge proficient students, hide the letters from view and challenge the students to spell the words. Point 3. Repeat and challenge. Students with emerging skills require repetition, while students with mastered skills require challenges that develop their skills beyond the requirements of the program. The SMILES program is designed to provide students with both repetition and challenge, addressing all levels of skill. Here are some activities for students with either emerging skills or mastered skills at either end of the spectrum. Take, for example, the station Shiny Words, where shiny words are posted. Emerging students may be asked to listen to a word and then to identify it, while mastery level students may be required to identify and write shiny words that rhyme. So they would identify from the group of posted shiny words those words that rhyme, group them together, and write them. From the new words display, emerging students may be asked to listen to words being read aloud and to identify the word from among the other words posted. They may be also asked to decode and blend to read certain indicated words posted on the display. On the other hand, mastery level students may be required to identify and write displayed words that rhyme, or displayed words that begin with the same sound, or to identify and write displayed words that contain a particular sound. From the spelling words display, emerging students may be asked to practice copying or tracing the words, while mastery level students may be challenged with composing words that rhyme with words on display and spelling them. Another activity uses the letter chips of the game Scrabble. Emerging students may be asked to arrange a few select Scrabble chips to spell a word that is already on display, whereas mastery level students may be challenged to spell words from a larger pile of Scrabble chips. In the reading corner, emerging students can be instructed to identify and read all occurrences of a particular word in a story, while mastery level students can be challenged with independently reading short stories from outside the SMILES program. In arts and crafts, emerging students can paint or cut out the letter of the lesson. They may paste pictures of words that start with that particular sound. Mastery level students may be challenged with preparing a poster titled "My Most Difficult Words." Differentiating instruction can also extend itself into the play corner of the classroom. Emerging students may be asked to choose from available toys those toys that begin with a particular sound, while mastery level students may be asked to organize the toys based on beginning sounds. Point 4. Groups, pairs, and individuals. There are three combinations that can be used to structure groups relative to two factors: the skill level of students within a group and the activity being performed by the groups. These are three grouping strategies that can be used based on these two factors. Students can be grouped as same skill level, same activity, same skill level, different activity, and different skill level, same activity. In the same skill level, same activity, each group consists of students with similar level of skill. All groups are required to complete the same activity. This allows mastery and proficient groups to work independently, while time and effort are being focused on developing and emerging groups of students. In the grouping strategy, same skill, different activity, each group consists of students with similar level of skill. The activity required by each group is different, with each group being challenged with an activity that is of commensurate complexity. In this case, instruction and guidance must be offered equally to all groups. The third grouping strategy, different skill level, same activity. In this grouping strategy, each group consists of students with varying level of skill. Students of varying level of skill work together to complete a given task. Students that have mastered a particular skill can further hone their skills by teaching and guiding others. Pairing is another form of grouping. It has its own particular nature that emphasizes coordination and communication between two students. Choosing students to be a pair requires some planning and understanding of each student's personality, needs, and skills. The pairing ought to result in a positive learning experience for both students. The pairs formed can change over time based on the teacher's discretion. These are two examples of pairing: reading buddies and spelling mates. In reading buddies, the partnership is intended to pair students of different reading skills together. Students with more advanced skills assist other students and in the process further develop their own skills. For spelling mates, the pair is of similar spelling skill level. Spelling mates practice spelling by one reading words while the other spelling them. All students require one-on-one time with the teacher, even for a minute. While a minute may not seem like much, in a busy classroom, it can feel like an eternity. The objectives of such an interaction are connecting with students, identifying student need, identifying student skill level, providing focused instruction, providing constructive feedback, and conducting assessments. Point 5. Have something for everyone. The goal of differentiated instruction is to actively engage all students in the learning process. While this presentation offers many suggestions, tips, and strategies, there is more that can be done. Plan and prepare learning activities and materials for each student to keep every student engaged and learning. This concludes the fifth and final presentation of the series.